Hi everyone, in today's tutorial we're going to learn how to make this beautiful blazer dress with a Basque waistline. If that is what you want to learn how to make for yourself, then keep watching this video till the very end as I give detailed explanations on how to go about this very dress. Alright, so without further ado, let's head straight to the pattern drafting tutorial. So firstly, you're starting off on your basic bodice in full, your neckline in basic. I have my side bust dart, I also have my waist dart, okay, and up until wherever you want your dress to stop, okay, wherever you want your dress to stop, right? So as you can see, my basic bodice is not in half, it's in full, the front is in full. Now the first thing you're going to do is to mark 1 inch inwards from your neckline like so. Please want to watch closely what I am doing. Then I came down by 7 inches. This is where that lapel effect is going to cross. If you watch closely the picture on top of the screen, I am not putting on any blazer and nothing is showing, no cleavage is showing. So that is why I marked that inch. So I connected the 1 inch to the 7 inches point like so. Can you see that? Now the next thing I am going to do is to extend this point further. Now, between my bust point and my waistline, I'm going to be marking. I wanted to mark half of it, but then I decided to mark about, I think I used 3 inches. Okay, you can use whatever works for you, just maybe 2 inches downwards from your bust point line. And from that part or from that point, I marked 2 inches outwards towards this area. Can you see 2 inches towards this side? Right, now we're going to be connecting from that 1 inch point to that 2 inches point, right, which I marked outwards. You might find out that your pattern or your line moved away from that 7 inches. Do not worry, just make sure you're connecting from the 1 inch point to the 2 inch point. All right, so this is what I did, and right here I'm just trying to correct the line to make sure it is straight, just from that 1 inch connected to that 2 inches point. Right, that is what I did. As you can see, it moved away, but not to worry, just let it be. Make sure you connect from the 1 inch point to that 2 inches point, and that is it. So I'm just trying to measure to see how deep I have, but it's nothing to worry about, it's still okay. So you're going to make that point visible like I did right now. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark that 2 inches point all the way from my center front down to the hem. My center point or my center front is very much visible. It is that point that looks like it is folded or it is joined, where the paper looks like it's joined. Okay, so I marked the 2 inches all the way to the hemline, and from that point, which is it the break line or the break point, sorry, I'm connecting all the 2 inches to the hemline like so. That's the next thing you want to do. So this is what it looks like. Can you see that? Then next thing I did was to add fresh pattern paper to the top part of my paper, because we are going to draft in the collar. And I went ahead to take the measurement of my round back neckline, just like I did. Now that measurement I took for the round back neckline, I'm going to be imputing it like so on the roll line and on the collar stand. That slanting line, the first one is the roll line, the one outwards is the collar stand. So I'm going to be extending the collar stand, and also the roll line, I'm going to be extending it. This is the roll line right now. I'm going to be extending them upwards across that 3 inch point that I marked like a 90-degree triangle kind of stuff. Okay, it's supposed to be giving 1 inch apart, but I found out that it is below that, so I have to mark the 1 inch this way and then redrew the collar stand, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, it is not straight, it's kind of slanting. I think it's 90 degrees, right? I really don't know, it's kind of slanting. And so this is what your pattern should be looking like at this stage. Now the next thing I'm going to do is from this point, that very point, I'm going to be squaring a line outwards like so. I use dotted lines, but then I'll go ahead to join it together. So on that line I measured 4 inches. So I'm going to be connecting the 4 inches to this point, right? The 4 inches to that very point. I connected it, and this is what it's looking like. Now the next thing we are going to do I marked 2 inches from here. Can you see that? And I'm squaring a line from that 2 inches away towards this point like so. And on that line that I squared out, I'm going to be marking 2 inches. Okay, can you see that? Now I want to determine how wide I want my collar to be. I'm using 2.5 inches here, which later on I went ahead to reduce it. Just keep watching. I'm going to be connecting this point to this point. I'm gonna have to connect it, and my blazer, whatever the lapel, I made it visible. We're going to be tracing out the whole of this lapel to this part, because this is the actual pattern that we need. This part, not that part. I'm going to be tracing it out towards this part. Okay, so I'm gonna have to trace it out, and this is what it looks like. All right, I went ahead to trace it out. Like I said, I reduced my collar, and look at that. I had to reduce my collar. It was way too big. I had to reduce it. I reduced it. I think I used 1.5 inches, so I reduced it to 1.5 inches other than 2.5 inches. So this is what the whole lapel stuff looks like. Now let's head to that Basque waistline effect. On your waistline, you're going to be coming down by 2 inches. This is the part where I think I did something I didn't like. I went too low for the Basque waistline. Please do not go overboard. I went all the way to my hip line. Don't get to your hip line, please. It's not going to look that nice, especially if you're not tall. It's not going to look that nice. I really don't like it. Or you might as well like it, but I don't like it. So maybe you want to come up 2 inches above your hip line, right? So I'm going ahead to cut this out right now. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be notified whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. Can you see what the lapel is looking like? We are going to be cutting it out some more. I just have to stop at this point because we are not done with this pattern. So that 2 inches we marked from the center front, I'm going to be marking the same thing here. Like I told you, this part is our actual pattern. Okay, this is the actual pattern that we need. So I'm marking the 2 points, the 2 inches like that from this point all the way to the hemline, and I'm using my ruler to connect it together. So I labeled actual front pattern so I don't use the other one or I don't get confused. So I'm going to be setting that aside so we can work on the rest of the front pattern. I'll be using princess seam, armhole princess darts. Okay, that was what I used for the upper part of the blazer. I used armhole princess darts to kind of contour some part of my body. So I'm going to be marking 4 inches at the point of my armhole. Then I'll go ahead to connect it with a cord line to my bust point like so. You can use any part of your armhole. I'm using 4 inches point of my armhole to connect to this point. So we're going to be creating the princess seam now. I'm going to be cutting my side bust dart open like so. If you've been following my channel, you should get used to princess darts by now. I always do it. It's one of my favorites. So I went ahead to cut like so. Then I'll go ahead and transfer that to the armhole portion or the armhole part. So I haven't done that now. This is what it looks like. The next thing I'm going to do is to, of course, cut from my bust apart line or nipple to nipple line, like you guys like the bust apart line. Okay, I'm going to be cutting on that line. Please make sure you're cutting on that line. I'm going to be cutting on that line. Then of course we'll be taking out the dart so that we can have a fitted, blazer dress. So we're going to be taking out the dart. Okay, so that is all for our front pattern. That is all you need for your front pattern. I'm going to be cutting out this collar, please. I need to detach it. I'm going to show you guys right now how to cut out the collar. So see where I'm starting from to remove my collar. You're going to be cutting on the collar stand, please, not on the row line, on the collar stand. All right, so we're going to be cutting on the collar stand. That extra paper upwards, I'm also going to be removing it. Yes, the one towards the shoulder part, I'm also going to be removing it like so. So taking it out, and that is all. This is all the pattern you need for the front. Aside the basque or the pleated basque effect that I haven't done, which I am also going to be showing you how to do that in this video. It is actually very simple. So these are all the patterns that you need. So let's head straight to that pleated basque part of it. This is what that pattern looks like. You can continue your pleating like so, or you can tilt it like I did here. I tilted mine. I actually don't know which is better. Well, whatever works for you. I'm very slim, so I needed something to add fullness before, gathering it, before slashing or before cutting through for the gathers. So that was why I tilted it a little bit to add a little bit flare before doing this. But if you're big enough and you don't want to do that, just go ahead and do this. Don't tilt it. Just go ahead and do this straight. So this is what that pattern looks like, and this is what we're going to be cutting on our fabric to get that pleated effect on the basque waistline. So let's head straight to the cutting of the front. I folded my pattern into two. Sorry, I folded my fabric into two, and I placed my front bodies there. Okay, then I'll go ahead now and start cutting. Also, the center front, I am cutting it out in two. This is a blazer, of course. You're cutting it out in two. Now for the back, okay, same thing we did for the front. Like I said, you want to come up a little bit from your hip line. Do not go all the way down to your hip line. Let's say 2 inches above your hip line. All right, but here I went all the way down. I really don't like it, so I think just avoid that mistake and come up 2 inches above your hip line. Then I went ahead to mark that 2 inches all the way down to the hem, and I'm going to be connecting it to this point like so. Then we'll go ahead to cut it out. The same way I worked on the basque effect for the front is the same way we're going to work on that of the back. This particular pattern, same thing we did to the front is what we're going to do to the back. So for the back also, I'm going to be marking 4 inches from the point of my armhole so we can create our princess dart for the back. So this is what the pattern for the back looks like. This is all the pattern you need for the back. I labeled back so I don't mix it up with the front. These are all the patterns for the back. So we'll go ahead and set it aside now, and we'll head straight to the sewing immediately. For the sewing, I'm gonna have to join the princess that part of the front. Okay, for the two piece of the front or two parts of the front, I went ahead to join the princess dart of it. Also for the back, I also went ahead to join the princess dart. Of course, our back, center back, we had to cut it on fold. There's no joining. My zipper for this dress is by my side. You'll see that as we go on in this tutorial. So the first thing you do is to join your shoulder together, front and back, on your main bodies, on your main piece, not the lining, on your main piece. So after doing that, you also take this part of the collar, which is going to be inside. I believe you must have marked your notches by now. So you want to place, making sure that every notch aligns, and you sew on the back to where it comes out to the front. Now, the same thing you did here is what you're going to do on your lining pieces. And of course, you're cutting your lining pieces same way you cut the main piece. You're going to cut your lining piece same way you cut the main piece. All right, apart from the parts where you need to turn over like the hem so that your sewings does not show. Now, this is my lining piece. I have gone ahead to do the same thing I did. You want to consider that some part of the lining is actually the part that will come out, like the lapel and the collar. That was why I ironed an interface to it, because those parts is going to be the part that will come outwards, whereas that of the main fabric is going to be inwards. I don't know if you get you understand, right? So I'm going ahead to sew this, making sure that all my notches align like so. Like you're turning it right side facing right side, then you're going to be sewing everything. So when you turn it up, it comes out neat and nice, like I've shown you now. I've gone ahead to sew everything out. At this point, I haven't given it a nice spray. I haven't ironed it at all. I don't think I have. Okay, I have. I've ironed just the collar. Okay, I've ironed just the collar at this point, but not really very nice. I just wanted to lay it down so I can show you guys. And this is what the collar looks like. Can you see that? Very neat and beautiful. So this is what the collar looks like. So we'll head over to the next stage of this dress. For this dress, like I told you, it has a zipper. I did not open those buttons. Those buttons you're seeing in front, they are fancy. It has a zipper. I'm not going to be opening those buttons, of course. I did not do that. Now to do this, what you're going to do is, remember we marked 2 inches from center front. You want to mark that same 2 inches from wherever your center front is. At this point, I want to advise you, do not discard your pattern until you're done sewing this dress. So that whenever you make a mistake, you go back to the drawing board, which is your pattern. If you feel like you're getting confused, you go back to your pattern, you get it right. So I marked that 2 inches on both sides, and I'm joining the both 2 inches together with a pin. I'm holding them down together with a pin. The 2 inches on both the left and the right pieces of the front, I'm using a pin to hold them together. As you can see, I'm looking for the 2 inches that I marked there, and I'm going to be pinning it down to the other part, making sure they align with my pin. I'm going to do that on every part of it, and this is what it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to attach my button. Like I'm going to be sewing the buttons just like that. All right, you want to measure. I used 6 inches apart to sew them, so I'm going to be sewing my buttons like this. I used zipper by the side. I did not I'm not going to be opening these buttons now. So after I was done attaching the whole buttons with my needle and thread, I'm going ahead now to sew up the sides. I'm going to be shaping the side seams according to my measurement. All right, I'm going to be shaping the side seams according to my measurement. So after doing that, the next thing you're going to do is to take this pattern, or this fabric, this pattern of course, where you're going to be box splitting it. You go ahead and box split it, and with your iron and a sprinkling of water, I think a spray of water, yes, give it a nice press. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join one side, but I'll show you how to join it on the other side. You will get this first. On the first part of it, you want to join that of the front first up until where your side seam stops. All right, you will join up until where your side seam stops, and you do the same thing to the back, then stitch it up together at the side. Now for the zipper, I'm going to be using any part of the side to put the zipper this way. So by the time I'm done stitching it, I will now open up the side seam, and this is what it looks like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.